We have a top line ARR between 2 to 2.5 million. It is a competition. It is a race.
Where do you see opportunities to build $1 million business in the coming few years?
If it was that easy, then there would be 100 people doing it already.
What's your valuation?
Valued somewhere between 20 $25 million. So I think the hardest thing over here is that there's no wow.
What would you say is the difference in being a developer and being a tech CEO?
Whenever there's an opportunity that opens up in the market, there's multiple people running towards it. And the people who can run longer and harder will win the battle.
What do you think is a differentiator between someone who becomes successful in the startup as compared to those who fail?
I have a line that I say to myself, and that is always like, if not me, then who?
If a 20-year-old today in college were to ask you how they can build $1 million startup, what would your advice be to them?
Well, I think
So with this episode, the goal is to understand your journey of being from IIT Delhi to launching your own startup. People watching this video are in college, have big ambitions. So the idea is just to learn from your journey and share your experience with them. Sounds good?
yeah, perfect. Happy to.
Awesome. So firstly, take me back to your college days and what was your mindset like back then?
When I entered college, I felt like this is a place where I can pretty much do anything, because you're not just focused on studies all the time. You are focused on all these variety of different type of experiences. Like you join different type of clubs, you join different type of activities, and then of course there's all these different type of courses as well. And it's a interesting environment, especially in an environment at IIT Delhi, because you have some great minds. I think a good college is built by its people. So you have some great minds around you, and then just the type of mindset that everyone carries with coming into college, that's quite infectious. So I think the first couple of years, the first 2 years in college, I spent a lot of time just exploring different things. So I would invest my time with almost every club I could fit in. I loved sports. I loved activities, cultural activities as well. So to be very honest, I think in the first year, I kind of felt I was able to crack how to get good grades in the least amount of time, and then spend everything else I have with friends and activities.
Nikhil, what's your valuation today? Like how much work has it taken to reach there?
Okay, so I think, we're still a private company right now. So as a result, the concept of valuation, it's very complex. When we think about valuation, we look at, okay, how much is an Apple valued right now? How is a Microsoft valued right now? And these are publicly traded companies. So the share price is something that dictates how a publicly traded company works. But for a privately owned company, it's a lot more complex. The only time you can actually set up a valuation is when you get a fundraise round. In fact, if you're a big company, it's very difficult to talk about valuation. Then what you can do on principle is look at what are valuation multiples going on in the market in your space. So for example, we're in SaaS. Now in SaaS, there's a market trend of certain valuation multiples, and the valuation multiple is based on your current revenue. So in SaaS, there's a concept called annual recurring revenue or ARR. And based on ARR, you can do let's say a 10x multiple on top of it to get your valuation. And I think that's a good rough estimate to keep right now, because even in the market in today's day and age, 10x is something that you can expect in SaaS. It ranges between 8x to 15x. I wouldn't say average is 10x right now. If you go back maybe 3-4 years during the boom of 2020, 2021, you were seeing valuations at 20x, 30x, 40x, 50x, 100x. We call it a boom period, and that's kind of where all this kind of concepts and startups also came from, because startups became overvalued during that time period, and they were not able to just value. So when you have a downturn period, I would say like right now, or last couple of like 18 months, which have been much more difficult to sell software, to sell SaaS, it became much more to justify valuations. So I would say right now it's about 10x. So the way that companies like ours can look at valuation would be to take our revenue, our annual revenue, and just multiply it by 10x right now. So, for example, the company where LimeChat is right now, ending the last month, we have a top line ARR between 2 to 2.5 million dollars of ARR. So we do a 10x on top of that. that would make it valued somewhere between $20-25 million. But again, you're and to all those people in college listening, I mean, this is not money on the table. This is the company and the word is attributed to future revenues. It's taking into account that there's revenue growth going on and the company will start turning more and more annual recurring revenue over a period of time. And it's taking a bet. Just because it's there today doesn't mean that you have it in your hand. So it's all work. And second part of your question was how much work does it take? Well, I think you might have heard a lot of founders say this, but when you're starting out, you're in a mode of optimism and you're very positive on everything. You're like, huh, let a challenge come and I'm gonna see to it or anything. But when you actually get into it, there's just so much. It's all engrossing. I think the biggest thing is that there's never an end to work. So there's always things like I can make this better. I can make this better. If you're growing, I have to handle this. Okay, I have more time on my hands. Let's start a new initiative. Let's push. Let's push for this. So that's the biggest thing. Setting up those boundaries is very difficult to do, and as a result, it is all consuming. All your time, your days, your nights, your Mondays to Sundays, everything becomes all consuming. And especially in the early days, because you're just trying to piece together something. There's no like in college, everything is so well written for you. Just do this course in this semester. You have to do. Here's your exams, right? So you have a sense of structure in life. When you let go of that, and you're not going into a job. I think jobs also have a very great structure. It gives you some stability. Okay, I stay for 2 years, do well, I get promoted, and I get promoted, and you keep going from. So you have a path in place. I think the hardest thing over here is that there's no path. You only know one. The world only looks at you from one perspective, which is your outcomes. And in SaaS, that is what goes to get 100 things. And you have to figure that out along the way. So, and I think that's the exciting part about this as well. Like, that's where the curiosity gets really fulfilled on a day-to-day basis. Where,
Exactly.
like, how does this
Exactly.
work? How does this work? How do you
Mm.
close a deal? How do you talk to a company that's 10x larger than yourself? How do you even talk to like a Microsoft for that matter? How do you build great technology and try to compete with the Googles of this world? How do you build a culture in the company? How do you make a client very happy in terms of value? So there's 100 things that go on into building this out, building a team, building objectives for those teams, giving them a growth path. But now you're responsible for these team members, right? They're taking a bet with you on this journey. So it's not just, okay, this, I'll manage my time, I'll manage it. No, you manage it for them as well. And that's an extra responsibility. So I would say there's a thing. You can work as hard as you can in a startup. So some people like that as well. There's no limits. But you have to understand that it is a competition, it is a race. Whenever there's an opportunity that opens up in the market, there's multiple people running towards it. And the people who can run longer and harder will win the battle. So, and you cannot see your competition, unlike a race, which is you can see the person left and right to you. Over here, it's all happening in the shadows. So, when you're not working, you have to understand there might be someone else working out there harder than you, and that could lead to failure. So, I think that is understanding this, keeping yourself mentally strong, putting in the day. It's going through that routine continuously to make sure that you keep at it, you keep all those numbers up. You'll have your good times, you'll have your hard times, but um, I think it's a lot more dynamic than I anticipated entering into this role, and it is fulfilling. But yeah, it's much tougher than I anticipated.
Correct. What would you say is the difference in being a developer and being a tech CEO?
Okay, I think that's actually a pretty interesting question. No one's really asked me that in depth so far, but I have strong opinions about this. I mean, in college, etc., I had a fascination for coding. Like, it was one of my passions, and that's another reason why I started building up a startup, because I wanted to kind of create things. That engineering mindset of creation, and coding isn't perfect because you can just create things so quickly. It's just magic, right? So it was like I had a toolkit in my hands which I can just make things happen. That was beautiful. So I had opportunities like to go into the finance, fintech. In IIT Delhi, all people in my batch, if you're great, then you get an opportunity to go to these high frequency trading firms, etc. And it's a great job. It's absolutely fantastic job to kind of go and enter. It just did not satisfy my curiosity to build or my need to build out. So in the beginning days, it's all about you to build a mode yourself. And you want to
Right.
trust yourself. Obviously, you don't want to delegate to someone. And that's when, like I said, no, it's me. You're building something new and innovative. You're not copying anyone's idea. So for us, we had to think from scratch. Everything was very first principle thinking. If I'm building my architecture also, I have to think about today and the future, how to scale it. So I would say the first 18 months of the companies, it was, and my co-founder is also a technical co-founder. So both of us would work together, and it got progressively less over a period of time. I would say the first 6 months, it was just both of us going at it. Then we got some interns to join us. They started taking care of the code. And then my time and focus went on enabling them to handle the code and bring updates, changes to it. So my job at the beginning was to actually set a lot of the foundations.
Right.
Because you set the foundation correctly, you set up the databases correctly, you set up the foundations of the tech layer on top of it, and then how it's interacting or the basic features. It's hard to go wrong because when somebody they'll add to that code base and fundamentally it's set up well. So you do all the setup and then you can start delegating a little bit more. And I like that style because day to day, when you're coding, you need to be very focused. You need to have your time. You need those 3-4 hours. It's about getting into that flow state. And if you're constantly in meetings, you're constantly getting disrupted by certain things, it becomes very hard to code. So I think I quickly realized after a year that I don't want myself to become a liability by taking up some difficult projects that need to be delivered to a client or something. And I'm getting stuck by who knows what. It's not planned, right? Certain things always happen. So I can't have the dependency. That's too much pressure because then I'm working throughout the day. And then at in the evenings or at night, I have to go beyond my potential or what I can actually manage capacity and make it happen. And this actually didn't happen to me. So we had someone who was supposed to join us to build an analytics module because as our clients grew, they wanted more and more data insights of what's happening. And that person was supposed to join and he was supposed to build the whole system for us. And he did not join us just one day before because of some reason. And now we're stuck because we don't have the bandwidth. All the other projects are also important. So then I had to take out my time to actually build that module out. And the only way to fit in time was to wake up at like 5 a.m., code for 6 hours till 11, the company from 11 to like
Right.
exhaustion, and go to sleep, wake up again at 5, get 6 hours of coding and run the day. And then, so you cannot continue doing that. That's not feasible over a long period of time. We
Correct.
set it up in a way that I made sure that whatever something new is happening, I'm being involved in the basics and then enabling my team to kind of pick things up. And then you really spend time grooming the team. I think the biggest, that's what that happened. Being just a developer, I then moving into like, you know what, it's my job to groom the right team. We took a lot of freshers, we took a lot of people with a hunger to build. We didn't look at too much of the colleges. We looked at their potential of how they think about code structure, the fundamentals good enough. Uh, from there, and then we just gave them the opportunity to kind of take ownership, and many of them did really well. So when they take ownership, you keep elevating, and they can learn new things. Again, it's very fundamental, uh, super complicated. The simplicity is key to building great scalable tech, which is what I found out. And so I saw more and more of my time shifting in that direction where I could focus on company strategy, focus on building other systems. And I started running tech more from a proactive and reactive lens. Okay, what could break going forward? What is breaking now that I have to fix? And then sure, it's kind of filled. And okay, I can anticipate all these projects coming up in the future, sitting with the product team, planning things out and making sure the tech capacities. And then ownership is also divided. It cannot be like one part of the system is only known by one person. Everything needs a co-owner because people leave at times. Someone's sick at times. You need to have that. So I think that became a more interesting challenge also for me. So it's as much as I like the coding aspects, I've not missed it as much because all these other problems have been very challenging in their own right. And I've not written code for a long time that has contributed to the code base. I'm part of code reviews, etc. But yeah, I think that transition has been very, it's been planned out in that way, particularly.
What's the biggest mistake you think you've made in regards to recruitment?
Recruitment is one of those functions where you get constant feedback in a very repeatedly. The more time you just spend building a business, I think there's one skill that everyone learns, which is just how to hire the right type of people. And the most important thing is you have to figure out what your culture is also. So taking not just based on their skill set, you have to figure out if they're going to be a good cultural fit for the company. After a moment of time, the culture of the company becomes how new people are onboarded into how things work. Company culture is so important. So I think that is one thing that we spend a good amount of time fixing. Uh, because when you're hiring, does everyone feel that same passion to really build a startup, or is it just because I got a job from them, so I'll just go and work? So I think that was what we learned, that get people for the right culture. So now I in fact have my team looks at all the technical rounds when we're hiring. I do cultural rounds, and that goes from like all the questions you're asking me right now. They're part of like a cultural. Why did you choose the college you went to? What's going on? Uh, why do you even want to work at a startup? Talk to me about your favorites, how you cope with them. And these give a good insight about how the person really thinks and how they're going to react during the job. The other, I think, an issue that we faced was we've always been a very young team, and we've grown very bottoms up. That means we've taken hungry freshers or 1 2 year experienced people and have given them a growth path and have grown. And that's worked really well for us. I mean, there's almost 8 to 9 people in the company that have gone and started up their own companies now. And that is really like that's something that I'm very happy about. And that's the type of thing that I tell all the people in the company as well. Like, you can do it as well. If we can do it, we're telling you we want to groom you so that you can also kind of go ahead and build your company. And people take that with a lot of ownership as well. So that's like it's a very high growth type of setup that we were able to construct here. Now that that has a certain culture that's been associated with this high growth path. What we did is, after a moment of time, we started hiring directors to kind of handle different parts of the roles. And our thought process is, if you get a director in, they have the muscle memory. They'll just be able to take whatever you build as a base and scale it, right? But I think we found that to be quite difficult, because I think the cultural assimilation, that means getting them to adapt to our culture, was much more difficult than we anticipated, because these people have years of experience. They've been working in a certain way for 7, 8, 10, 12, how many years? Coming into a very different culture environment uh, is very tough, and they want to impose their own culture. They're the ones leading the team. And if their culture does not imbibe our culture, there's a clash. So I think over a period of time, what we have now learned, and I would say our new mandate is grow our leaders in-house rather than hire laterally. So give them opportunities. It helps the team also. They also feel like, you know what, if I do great, I'll get an opportunity to take up a team lead position or a manager position. So I tell everyone, that position is always open for you. This is the next place of growth. That position is open for you. You get first dibs at this. Now you have to work, get it. I'm not promising it to you. I cannot do that. That'd be unfair. Saying you can do whatever you want. You do well, you do bad. This is your position. That's not the right precedent. It needs to be merit based. But I'm telling them that this is your position. It's it's up to you whether you grab it or not. And if you feel you're not ready when the time comes when we need that position, then we go out in the market and we hire someone. But I would prefer we make it happen. And I'm telling you, 99% of the chance that person will become good enough to get that position. And that the company culture, and it was great for team building as well. So that on realization we had.
If a 20-year-old today in college were to ask you how they can build $1 million startup, what would your advice be to them?
I think this is changing with the age. So if you look at a lot of variety of different, let's break down startups actually in a different stages. There are some, I would say, VC backed startups, right, which have a larger ambition, and we have to understand how bootstrap and how VC funding actually work here. If you're looking to build a $1 million outcome, I feel like you can build it in a bootstrap way, because might be giving yourself time. The one thing that you have is time on your hands. So instead of saying, I want to hit 1 million in 1 year, you can say, I want to hit 1 billion in maybe 2 3 years. I'm happy with that outcome. And I don't need money to help drive it. I'll build foundationally and fundamentally. Another aspect is to pick up money. And this is a great boost, because when you have cash on hand, you can take bigger bets and you can grow faster. But that also comes with its areas that you have to grow faster, right? So it's a double-edged sword, I would say. it's not the only way to build $1 million business, in my opinion. That you pick up VC money and then you scale, because the aim is not 1 million. No one is really putting VC money into your company so you can hit a $1 billion business. They want you to hit $100 million outcome at least minimum. Aim for a billion. They all say aim for a unicorn, and then get above 100 million. That's a good outcome, and that's very, like, the number of funded startups and then how many startups actually get 100 million. Very low number. So there's a lot of, so VC is a bet in that sense, and people who have that ambition, I think they shouldn't think big. They shouldn't think, okay, you know what, not a million, I want to go for that $100 million outcome. I want to go for that 200, $500 million outcome. You have to understand ki it's a big amount of luck also involved. You pick up the right problem statements, etc. Choosing the market is important over here. So you have to pick a market size which has the potential to get you so much revenue. We call this total addressable market, the TAM of any business. And one of the biggest challenges we see people doing, young, even us in many ways, is choosing a TAM that's too small. That doesn't have, what do you call, the potential to even get you to that $100 million. Right. And then picking up VC money for smaller TAM endeavors is not a good match. But $1 million outcome, I think it's much easier, because then the TAM issue is not so much. You can pick up even a small problem statement and try to grow it. If you grow into, like, say, $100,000 of recurring revenue, like I said, let's look at the 10x multiple. You have $1 million, right? These days, in fact, there's a lot of acquisition that happens in SaaS. Let's do acquisition multiples. Again, to give you a rough idea, would be, let's say, 6x. So if you're at, let's say, 200K of annual revenue, you can get acquired at, say, $1 million, $1.2 million. You get your $1 million outcome in that sense. Nothing really big. And getting to 100K and 200K is something that you can actually do without a lot of money. You have to just spend maybe more extra time on it. And then you need to have the things in-house, because let's say you're building a tech product and you're two non-technical co-founders. But then you're not really set up for success. Because then who's going to do for you? Then you have to invest money into someone who can write the code for you. That's a problem. So if you're in that, what you need to know how to write that tech. And most likely you're going to do a lot of that coding, because you're bootstrapping, right? So I think it's a very nuanced question in that sense, and people should spend a lot of time. It's good to jump on an idea. It's good to start, let's put together, let's start building a project. I think after a moment of time, start thinking, okay, what is the outcome? What's the realistic outcome I can get? Does this have the potential to become really large? If yes, should we start thinking about VC money? If that's a possibility, go for it. And from talking to VCs, you start figuring out, yeah, they also think this is a great outcome. But in most cases, I would say majority of cases, it would be like, this is not going to be huge. This is going to get us to, maybe, I can see a path. If we work for the next 5 years, we can get $1 million of revenue. So even if you work for 2 years, get a 200, 250K ARR, I'll be able to sell this company for, let's say, $1 million. Great outcome. Think about it. Great outcome. For many colleges, what are the packages that students are getting right now? And there should be an encouragement for more people to build that. You don't have to become $1 billion company. You can just be niche. Think about smaller problem statements, but think about how to solve them well and validate those problem statements. One request from my side would be, don't build immediately. Keep building, but make sure you do enough of value validation from the market that people really care about this problem statement. And then don't get demotivated too quickly before that. It takes time to crack it. If it was that easy, then there would be 100 people doing it already. Right? So those opportunities are harder to find, but then you can be smart about them. I think the number of these opportunities where you can get like 100K or 200K are just down. Honestly, there's no end to it. You can always figure it out. The harder ones, I'm thinking about a really large idea. But like I said, 1 million outcome, it should be much more easy.
Where do you see opportunities to build, let's say again, $1 million business in the coming few years?
I think you have to kind of always look at, let's talk about bootstrap businesses then. Let's talk about smaller opportunities that people can tap into. That is based on the trends. You have to look at what are the current trends in the market. So I'll give you some examples of how to think about this. About 4 or 5 years ago, when we were also starting up, this is the year 2019, 2020, we saw a lot of these micro SaaS companies coming up that were building small apps, like Shopify apps. If you don't know what Shopify is, Shopify is the world's second largest SaaS company behind Salesforce, and they help e-commerce brands set up their websites. And they give a whole ecosystem to these e-commerce brands. They have an app marketplace, and you can get a lot of functionality on your website by downloading these apps and using them. There could be an app to get reviews. There could be an app to help you manage your prices of your products. So a lot of these things, and it just saved a lot of time and effort and energy. So what we started seeing is because of COVID, the number of people opening up their online businesses skyrocketed. The number of people downloading apps from Shopify skyrocketed. So a lot of people in 2020 started building Shopify apps. They got to 200K, 300K ARR very quickly, and they started selling them off. There would be some larger app aggregators, and they would acquire these smaller app companies, and it would work well. And that was a good trend that happened for 2-3 years. I said now it's kind of declining right now because uh, I would say these opportunities they're fixed windows. An opportunity is not always. So back 5 years before that, it was all building all these small apps. Everyone was building these apps on their phones. It was an era of mobile apps. So we were building up even like agencies to help you do Android development, right? A lot of marketing agencies came up at that time. How do we put ad partners into your apps? How can we build an app for you? Then it was Shopify for some time period. Now it is an era of AI disruptions. So many AI tools are coming up. So many. And in fact, it is also interesting because these AI tools are helping make building also faster. That is encouraging more and more people to actually come and build because it's become easier to build, it's become cheaper to build. So now, when you're a bootstrap business, trying to think of an idea and you're trying to build it out, it has become much easier for you to do it. If, let's say, it took you maybe a year to build out the product, build out the marketing, build out the brand, persona, everything. Now you can do everything in maybe, let's say 3-4 months. And that's a huge boost. So you start thinking about where can AI be adopted. And again, what small things? Okay, people are making tools like improve your profile pic, upload a profile pics. It'll help you animate your profile. It'll help videos on TikTok faster, right? It'll help you come up with ideas every single day. It'll help you. It's a plugin that integrates into your Gmail and it'll help you make your meals a lot faster. So start thinking about day-to-day things that you're doing and come up with ways where AI can help make it efficient. I'm telling you, these tools are going to become commodities, right? Most of them. You're not going to be the only one building it out. There'll be 10 other people building it. So just put it out there. That market might not, like I say, be $1 billion opportunity, but it's an easy way to get to maybe 100,000, $200,000 of ARR and build that billion. So figure out the trend and you have to build according to that trend. Otherwise, it's very tough. You have to spend money and time to build outside of the trend. Think of it this way. When you're in the wave, things are just much more streamlined for you. And for bootstrap businesses, I think that's a very big plus point.
As a founder, Nikhil, in times of, failure, when you feel a blocker, what do you say to yourself?
I have a line that I say to myself, and that is always like, if not me, then who? Right. So that is something that whenever my back is against the wall, and that happens a lot of the times. You take bets. You have to take a lot of bets. You take some bets, and sometimes they work, sometimes they don't work. Your aim is that more work than don't work over a period of time, and I think that's the only sign that you're going in the right direction. Yeah, at times, and there's a lot of times that, like I said, building a business is a big part of luck as well. Sometimes you pick up an idea, and then things just change because of regulation, etc. Like I'll give you an example, like a company like Slice doing so well. And then government regulations came out, you cannot do buy now, pay later. And then overnight, we saw a destruction of a company, a great company. It had so much going for it, so much momentum. So sometimes these things are out of your hands. But so I would say those ups and downs will happen. But when the back is against the wall, that's why I said you have to be confident in your skill sets. I think it's very tough to become an insecure founder. If you're very insecure, then it's going to be very difficult for you to take the right time of decisions, lead your team during difficult times. So when we go through these phases, I would double down on my routine to make sure that I am more present. That means my sleeping time, I'm much more organized with that. I'm much more clear of where I'm spending that time. And at the end of the day, I would just tell myself, if not me, then who?
So,
And just go through it. to be honest. I would back myself even every single time. I would back myself that I would find out a solution. If there is a solution, find it out.
Why do you feel Indian students are still a lot more job oriented?
I think it's the Indian mindset. It's about risk taking ability, risk taking appetite. If you think about it in general, it's about securing the basic necessities for your house, etc. I know so many people in IIT who came there from very humble backgrounds, but their brilliance got them there, and they got an opportunity at the world stage. Their first reaction is now going to be to build a startup. Their first reaction is like, hey, let me upgrade the quality of living to my entire family because I've been given this opportunity. I feel that's absolutely maybe the right thing to do as well. So it's about risk taking. Right. I feel like you need to start thinking about who are the people who can start taking risks. I feel like there are two type of people in this. Some people who have think about it like flipping a coin. They might not be from a very well off background, and they're like, I want to make money. So I feel like this is the best way for me to make a better outcome. Because if I go to a job, I might not make so much. Some jobs are just starting from a very low pay grade as well, right? Not all jobs are like, they're getting like lakhs and lakhs of rupees. So there's that type of situation as well, where if you don't have access to great jobs, you would want to start up and think of this as an escape of maybe a quick way to make money. Uh, then there are people who have access to good jobs and they want to just have stability in life. So I job is a great opportunity there. Then I think there's a third type of person where you come from a decent, well-off family. For you, getting food on the table is not your biggest priority. If you're not working for 4 or 5 years and not really adding to the income of the family, that means you have the ability to take risks. And I was lucky enough and I'm fortunate enough that I fell in that latter category. If I did not even work for, let's say, 4 years, 5 years without any income, I couldn't make do. My family could make do. And I got an opportunity to take my curiosity, to take that ambition, take that passion, let's build something, and I could go along with it. You think about the opportunity cost as well, right? So for me, I did have a great job. Like I got an amazing offer from Amazon, part of the conversational AI team. And it would be a dream job for me where I had a mixture of applied science and research. And the pay was insanely good. It was the crores of rupees. And that's an opportunity cost that I'm putting away. And at that time, I had the ability to take that risk. So I was able to make the decision to, go for it and not take that job. But I would say 99% of people in my position would go and take that job. And there's something wrong with it. I think what's starting to happen now is there's this new trend coming up that if you're doing a job, you're compromising. Right. I don't believe with that. I think if everyone is not doing a job, then no one, like, who is. So I think you should look at your ability to take that risk. You have to understand this. Get a quick way to make money. I think you talked about that on this already. This is not that scheme. Work and this is a good way to make a lot of money. If you're self-story, there's not even 1,000. There's 5,000 people who have failed. So the chance that like less than 0.001%, and that's not to discourage people. That is to just give you a reality check. That you need to judge your ability to take that risk before you can. And if you do not have that ability now, it doesn't mean you won't have that in the future. So don't think about, you'll never have a chance. You build yourself. You work hard right now so you can take that risk in the future. So many people work really hard for 10 years, 15 years, then save enough money so that they can take that risk. Even the ones really bad building. I met so many founders who were like, really, I wanted to build from college, but I could not take that risk at that time. So I saved up, I built it for my family. I did not let that rise. And now I'm in a position where I can take that risk, so I'm doing it now.
If you give one success story, there are 5,000 failures, right? But let's assume that all of those people had conviction, all of them had good ideas, all of them had the ability to work hard. What do you think is a differentiator between someone who becomes successful with the startup as compared to those who fail?
Well, I think all the aspects you talked about, the definition of hard work, definition of conviction, definition of perseverance of making it happen. This is a relative scale, no? Everyone's running the race. It doesn't mean that you should compete. I can run, you can run. It means that we should go and compete in the Olympics. It's huge. Your hard work might not be anything for the next person. For them, that might be like The amount of time it takes you to do something might take you 10 hours. Someone else might do it in 3 hours. Now they have an advantage. So all this game is about multiple things. It's about advantages. At the same time, it's also about luck factors as well. When things come along, did you even pick up the right idea to work on? Maybe you had the potential, or you just picked up the wrong idea. If you picked up the right idea, you so don't. I would not think about it. Oh, I have all the recipes for success. I would look at it differently. I have the shields to protect myself for failure because people will keep this will keep coming. Let's imagine like arrows coming at you at every step of the way. Do you stop those arrows and make it through still? That is much harder. That's not just hard work. That's not just perseverance. That's not just conviction. You should have the kind of be moldable, play the situation, move forward, and it's tough to know. And most likely, one of those arrows is going to hit you. It's going to hit you, and you nothing wrong. So it's not even. Yeah, I did everything. Yeah, you did everything right. It's just the game. That's how it's played. Right? So you have to accept it. That failure is an option, and it is most likely to happen. So think of that. Like, yeah, it's a pessimistic way to think about it. I think it's more realistic. So you have to be careful. But that doesn't mean you don't take your shot. You should also know when to back down. So that's also important. Looking at this for 2 weeks, and then you understand, not going anywhere. You should be able to make that decision. And I've seen many who are on the grind saying, I'm starting up. And they love that idea. They don't know when to stop. When reality becomes, faded for them. Just be aware of that, and then you should be able to do it.
Interesting point you mentioned previously about opportunity cost. So I just want to ask you that, do you ever feel that you should have taken that job at Amazon, which was paying you a good enough income?
I'll tell you a story about this. I mean, so I had the job offer. I only sat for one company externally because I got connected through a friend in Amazon. So I took up the interview, and I think I was lucky because I got matched with the right team, and that was my area of expertise. So I just fit really well into that structure. I was supposed to join on the 19th of November, 2019, and in about July, August, I was supposed to like take a decision on it. So we were working really hard on the startup, and I was like, I want to see this through. Elections are going to end. So Maharashtra, Haryana elections were going to end in October. October 21st, 2019 is the exact date when they ended. So I think 16th of October, a week before it ended, Aniket and I got together and we understood that this is not like I said, we didn't know what to stop us. So we understood a lot of fundamental issues with this whole business that we're building. It's very periodic in nature. Now the next elections are going to happen after 5 years. What do we do? There's going to be intermediate, but not finding a good fit. And then how do you get payments with the government? Also very tough. So we had that, what, we're going to just shut the business down, sell it off. I mean, again, you look for an outcome. Don't just think about it. We look for a buyer with all these parties. Love this tech. We sold it off. And so 22nd October, I'm sitting there. And it's a very tough thought because you're going to failure for the first time. I mean, for someone like me, I have hardly tasted that failure of that thing. And what is failure? Failure is when you put your 100% into something and you still did not get the out. There's so many things that you do along the way where you're like, I can rationalize that failure, saying, yeah, I not give in my best, I would have done it. There is something both of us put 100% in and we could not achieve. Whereas that's never happened in life. We wanted to go to IIT, we did it. We wanted to go in computer science, we did it. Throughout school, everything we put our time and effort and mind to. So it's a very negative mind space when you're thinking about that failure. And I just myself, I don't want this failure to define me. My whole I am is defined on confidence and self-confidence. I told you that line also. If not me, then who? If I cannot do that line, then I'll self-doubt myself every step of that journey. At this moment of time, I felt like I have this thinking, could I even build a business? Am I good enough? And that became that challenge for me. That became like that. It was more about, hey, I should be able to do this. It's not me, then who? So, that job, I felt that jobs come and go, to be honest. I felt I was good enough. I can get a job again. Like, I thought in my head, I'm not good enough. I felt like I have great skills and these are valuable skills that I have. I can go and kill it. So the very next day, the first thing I did the next day, 23rd of October, is write a mail to Amazon saying that I'm not going to be joining. I had no idea at this time still going through that failure phase. But I told myself if I keep having these plan Bs right now, then that's going to affect my ability to make a hard decision right now. So remove that plan B, remove that thought, oh, I could have done this, I could have done this. Then you'll live in regret. I have no idea whether I would be able to start LimeChat. There was no LimeChat at that time. There was no idea about it. Right? You're at your worst time in your life, but I felt like you don't want to live with that regret. That is going to that's going to really not be the best position for me to be in my best. So I remove that opportunity cost and I can never think about it. Honestly, that's never a thought I have in my head. Oh, what if I had taken that offer? Every day I'm like, wow, I'm glad I had the strength to put in that mail on that day, is how I think about it. And this is a journey that, is learning so much, making yourself better and better and better. Every year you look at yourself like, wow, I learned so much. This is great. I'm building something that's mentally stimulating. I'm one person who gets bored very quickly. I'm getting to work on something that keeps me engaged every single day. Something to look forward to every single day. Every day give motivation. So I feel like, and I'm someone who likes that level of control as well. So I have no regrets about not taking up that offer.
Well, thank you so much, Nikhil, for taking out the time and sharing your experience with the audience. I'm sure that they will learn something from it and try to implement those things. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It was good to talk to you.